Hey there, athletes. Coach John Ferry here from Team Wilpers. Very excited to welcome you to our kind of special edition athlete briefing tonight with Team Wilpers coach Rebeccah Wassner. I'm very excited to hear Rebeccah talk. I know she's going to have a ton of value to add to all of your training. I hope everyone is having an incredible training week so far. While I'm waiting for Rebeccah to join up, we're just going to go through a little quick review and maybe a little bit of a forecast depending upon how much time we have here. So this week, both groups are moving into some of their most challenging training weeks. Both groups are working quite a bit on incline, and both groups still have big weekend long runs ahead of them. So while we're working on very different things in each challenge right now, a lot of commonality this week, a lot of crossovers. It's been really fun to kind of see everyone posting their workouts of different styles and durations, but we're all kind of doing this together here. Hopefully you've had a little bit of fun seeing your teammates kind of do that as well. So in addition, let me touch a little bit here on the week coming up ahead. So we're coming into week 6 on the winter run challenge. We're coming into week 7 on the half marathon challenge. These are all workouts, and both challenges are variations on things that we've already done. So nothing is new. Everything is just a little bit of a step up this time around. So for example, in the winter run challenge, the interval duration is just a little bit longer. Not the intervals themselves, just the totality of the workout, just a little bit longer than it has been in the past. Sorry, I'm gonna check in real quick here, see if I've got Rebeccah coming in yet. Not quite, still holding up. So hopefully here real soon. So I mentioned those intervals are a little bit longer. Similarly in the hills workout, the main set is just a little bit longer there. So nothing you haven't done before, just a few more repetitions. It's gonna be a little bit more challenging, but not so bad. And similarly, we're just gonna extend out the long run a little bit here to a little bit more time. We're going to that 60-minute long run. We want that to be nice and easy. You know, it's on the half marathon pace workout here. We're starting again with that 60-minute workout. So we're working on aerobic time, we're working on volume. All right, great. I see Beck just popped on here, so I'm sure she'll be requesting it in just a second. And then that progression run. So we did a great progression run. Everybody nailed the progression run earlier in this challenge block where we went from easy pace all the way to marathon pace. This time we're going from easy pace all the way to threshold pace over the scope of that workout. So we're going to finish with that little 5-minute block. That's a little bit harder than half marathon pace effort. It's just going to be, once again, a little level up from what we've done already here. We're going to finish the week with our biggest long run to date, 9 to 11 miles. So make sure, set yourself up well, get rested, get prepared for that big weekend run. So while I know Beck and I did, Beck's right here. All right, we'll bring her in with us. Having a little bit of a technical glitch here. Unable to add guest. Just one moment, everybody. This worked just a few minutes ago, I swear. Beck, if you're out there, I'm trying to let you in. Just one moment, please. So there are a couple guest requests that have already come in here, not from Beck. I'm gonna decline you all if you don't mind. And Beck, if you're listening, if you can try to send one more request, please. We'll try to get you onto our call here. While we're working through this, which once again, I swear worked just an hour ago. All right, send invite. We are having a little bit of an issue, unfortunately, which is Beck doesn't seem to be able to join in. Bear with us for a moment. And if it's not working, I'll actually stop this broadcast or stop our live here and maybe restart it in just a second and try that again. As we tested this at 5 and had no issue, and for some reason it's saying we're unable right now. there were a couple of you out there that caught us at 5 testing, so you know it's true. While we're kind of waiting on this and hoping that it works in a second here, I will go ahead and intro Beck and keep my fingers crossed that this worked. But Rebeccah is the 3-time winner of the New York City Triathlon, has been named New York Runner of the Year, and is a mother of 3, probably most impressively to add to that tally there. So I know she's trying to resend the request to get in as we speak. Hopefully it will come through any second now, because we'll get this sorted one way or another here soon. But she is going to have a ton of value to add, a lot of great tips kind of coming into this training block. So I'm not seeing the requests come in. I'm seeing some other people's requests come in, which we'll have to save for another day. All right, Beck, I see the request again. This is your... Oh, wait. Did we do it? Yes!
I went out and came back in, and I think that solved the problem. Should have done that 10 minutes ago, sorry.
No problem at all. Yes, very relieved, very excited. I was just trying to go over some of your highlights here, but I'll do it one more time now that it is working. So with us tonight, and thanks for being here, Beck, Rebeccah Wassner, 3-time winner of the New York City Triathlon, has been named New York Roadrunner Runner of the Year, mother to 3 very athletic young children. And then in addition, if that were not enough, to racing and training, Rebeccah founded and publishes a popular blog with her sister Laurel, athletefood.com, and on Instagram @athletefood, where they share healthy recipes, workout ideas, travel, and race reports. So how are you tonight?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on tonight, and I'm really excited to meet even more people. I've met so many incredible people from being a coach with Team Wolpers for 3 years now, and it's been such a journey, and it's a really great group. So excited to talk to you all tonight.
Yeah, I know I've kind of shared to you, Rebeccah, and as well as the group, that these people, so many of them have had to listen to me exclusively like blab on for hours and hours of time over the course of the last many months and as much as a year. So I couldn't be more thrilled to have your very, very expert opinion come through, and them to be able to get another voice on the matter. I think it will be a totally different lens to look at. And I know, speaking of which, you've got pickups coming later, so we'll jump right into it. So, we gathered questions, some from Instagram, some from Facebook, etc. And there's really no surprise to me that the overarching theme, more than anything, was balance. So, life balance, training balance, nutritional balance. People were very curious how you not only were able to train and excel at this incredibly high level, but do so for not a lengthy period of time, but also while maintaining, obviously, a young family as well. So I kind of wanted to start with some lifestyle specific things, because that's, I'm sure you see this as well, when we work with athletes, where we start with in terms of making a plan is how it fits in with the life. And then we'll get a little bit more to the nuts and bolts of it down the way.
Sounds good. That's funny the way you describe it. It's it makes me say, well, of course I'm very balanced. Like Matt, I was an accountant first before I became a coach and an athlete. So I feel like I look at things at that in that lens where everything has to balance. Yeah, it is I feel like that's probably one of my strong suits. I might not be a world champion in triathlon right now, but I try to be the world champion of getting everything done that I have to do within the parameters that I set. And it's really hard, but the nature of the sport of triathlon is you can't really go hard in one. You have to balance them all. So I feel like over the years I've gotten pretty good at figuring out what works and what doesn't work. Yeah. And currently it's, as I have 3 kids, as John mentioned, and things have gotten, as many of you out there know, every year it's gotten harder and harder. The more activities you get, so there's just more things coming on. You start as a pro athlete and all you do is train and rest and do your workouts and race. And suddenly, like, now it's not just me. I have 3 other people plus the rest of my family to look out for it at all times. Like every time I walk out the door, it's where is everybody else? So it's definitely been an adjustment, but it's something that I found motivates me. It's probably the biggest motivator that I have, is more so to like, can I get it all done rather than like, can I run this time? And I feel like that's taken some of the pressure off of like, I don't have to be the best right now, but I can be the best within my life, if that makes sense. But it's made me want to continue to do the sport year after year, because I started doing triathlon 20 years ago as a pro, 20 something years ago, actually. I think it's going to be my 22nd year competing, and people don't do that. Like, it's kind of unheard of. But I found ways over the years to try to stay relevant, try to keep myself wanting to go out the door every day to work out. And recently, the biggest motivation is trying to find that balance. How much to push, how much time to dedicate to one thing and not miss out on something else.
So speaking of which, let me ask you, are there things here in like 2023 that are big on your race agenda item? Or are there like personal goals? Doesn't always have to be a race, obviously.
So I do have a couple of things coming up. First of all, I'm getting over a knee injury that is just one of those things that's going to take time, and I've come to terms with that. Last year, just for some background, I did a half marathon in March, so like an early season, kind of like what you guys are all doing. It was my first time training through the winter, so kudos to all of you who are doing this now. This is not an easy time to be doing long runs and running in general outside in most parts of the country. But it was a great way to set up the season. The fitness that I was forced to build in this early part of the year, when I might have been like, let it slide, don't worry about the miles now, that fitness helped carry me through the rest of the year. And I had really great results, even in September. So, but along the lines, I kind of picked up this little ache and pain that I just ignored for the whole year. And then at the end of the season, I decided to deal with it.
And was that the half marathon, the USATF half marathon championships? Like
yes.
Albany?
Mm-hmm. It was in Syracuse. So,
Syracuse.
This is a great thing to look into if anyone wants to race in the Masters category. The USA Track and Field puts on a series of distance events in all, anything from, I think, 5K up to, they don't do marathon, I don't think, but half marathon. It's pretty much once a month, and they're all over the country. A bunch are on the East Coast, so I kind of picked those to do last year with the hope of just like seeing if I could win one of the national age group championships. And I got second in the first one I did, and then I ended up winning the second one. But I was able to check that off.
It was a very impressive time for that half marathon too. So
I was pretty surprised. It was one of those things where like you kind of go to a race and know that there's a range of, you could run anywhere within, like I said to myself, I could run anywhere from 125 to 135 and I'd be happy. And it was 120. It was like a reach. I ended up running 125. So it was hard, but it was glad to be able, it's just happy to be able to do that and get out there and race. And like I said, I took a little break afterwards and let myself recover. And then the rest of the year I was able to build on that fitness, and it was a good plan.
I've had the opportunity and pleasure to kind of be circling around with you and Laurel for a few years now. And I think what is, people are going to be super excited to hear about. And I know I will be excited to hear about it, and I've been very in awe to see it over the scope of time. We started talking a little bit about that balance, but it's just, how do you get it all into the week? You're obviously competing at this very high level. You're training at a very high level. You are doing gymnastics pickup in the morning, the evening. You're stroller running in the afternoon. And then you're working. You're a coach with Team Wilpers and managing athletes all day long. So how do you do it?
Well, day to day, it looks like a lot of stroller running. So I decided a couple of years ago I was going to get into stroller running. I was just one of those people that was like, don't even get a jogging stroller. You're never going to use it. It's the worst training thing. You're going to hate it. And I had the stroller and I used it to just push the kids around. And then during COVID, my kids' school bus wasn't operating. So they had to get to school somehow. So I decided, all right, this is the time, start the stroller running. And I did most of my training for that half last year by stroller running. And I just had to you kind of throw away the pace and just do the miles as slow as you want to. I put them on the Strava and people were probably like, what is she doing? Like, what is her training? Why are all of her miles so slow? But it was so good to just like the consistency of having a reason to run every day and do that. Like I was probably getting up to 5 miles a day of stroller running, which is kind of a lot for me at least. So that has been, I have stuck with it. And I don't think I've gone to one school pickup in maybe a couple days ago I wore regular clothes, but otherwise it's like sweaty running clothes. Yeah. So, but it works for me, and that's training. So I get it done, and I get my other jobs done too. And then I also do, like you said, gymnastics. I go to the practices, and I just do my coaching at practice. So I'm kind of watching her and also coaching athletes at the same time. So it's a lot of hours in the week. But I try to make it. What I try to do is like look ahead and see if there's any obstacles of the week that's coming up, and know that I have to plan around those and make. Actually, one of our coaches, Greg Wagoner, had this great quote a couple weeks ago about identifying obstacles and then making a contingency plan. And I think it's just so smart because you're not going to. If you have, like I had 2 doctor's appointments today, I was telling John earlier, and it just took up I thought, oh, it's just a quick well visit, 7 and 10-year-old doctor's appointment. It took 2 hours. And so I knew going in, I was like, if you're going to work out, it's going to be before that, because otherwise you're going to get this and it's going to take too long. And then you start getting this like downward spiral of, I didn't get my workout in, and then I have to call my coach, I didn't work out, and all that stuff. So it's like, it's a good plan to just identify those things and then work around them if you can. Of course, there's always things that pop up and you just can't do it.
Which is a great question. Someone had asked, like, I'm gonna just have to guess this a little bit. I'm like relaying the question here, but as someone who owns just one dog, there's things that pop up. So I can't imagine with 3 kids, I have to imagine there's constant. It's like you have to come into a day like nearly expecting there to be some curveball. So going back to your accountant background, like I know, just like Matt actually, that like you come into the week knowing exactly what you have to do and when you're going to do it. But inevitably things come up. Like how do you feel like you are able to adjust to that so well, so quickly, and like keep that training load high?
I think what I rely on most is confidence. Confidence that if I miss this workout because I'm spending the night I'm going to be going to a race because I'm spending the night in the hospital with my sick kid, which has happened to me a couple of times. It always happens the day before a race. I don't know why. But I just have to rely on the fact that like I did work for this, and all of that hard work that I put in is going to carry me through this. And this one or two missed training is not going to set me back further than the work that I've done.
Yeah, for sure. And so you always, in addition to obviously being an athlete and a parent who is competing for yourself, you're also like coaching athletes through this whole thing as well. And so I'm sure you get like an outside lens, much like I feel like I have, where you get to like see it in other people. Do you feel like that observation of watching other athletes kind of struggle with the same thing, like ultimately helps you like overcome some of your own obstacles?
For sure, definitely. I feel like even in the last 3 years, coaching has made me a better athlete. It's definitely motivated me to do the things that I see my athletes do like it's nothing. And everyone here has a busy life and has kids, and no one's professional athlete sitting around doing nothing but train. And so I see some of my athletes doing 12 hours a week of training hard, and they have full-time, really busy jobs and kids. So it makes you think, okay, yeah, I could do this too. Yes, it's definitely motivating.
Do you feel like there are things that you've had to give up personally and able to, or in order more so to get it all in?
There have been times for sure, like when I was training as a pro and I would be going off to training camps. It's a different life where I just had to reschedule every birthday, like weddings I missed, and I just knew that if I wanted to do the things I had to do for my to get to try to qualify for the Olympics, I'm not going to be able to go to some like a cousin's wedding or something like that. And it was hard at the time, and I wish I could have not missed so many things, but those are some sacrifices that I had to make at that time. And now I really try to plan the year out. With it's like just down to the day of I know I can run on that day, and I'm going to be doing a race on this day. We're talking about August and January, and just so that I know that these days are blocked off for things I don't want to miss this year. Yeah. And there's a lot more of that now that I have some of my oldest daughter does gymnastics, like you said, and there's just meets and there's horse shows and there's practices and things like that. And I don't really want to miss any of those. And I also don't want to spend the day at those feeling like I'm missing out on something else, like I'm missing out on training I should be doing or a race I should be going to.
That's actually a amazing pivot because the next thing I was really curious about was because I know like the amount of times you've dialed in for meetings like at a gym, at a horse show, at a gymnastics thing is what probably 99 times out of 100.
Pretty much.
It's very very rare to like see you in your home like you are right now. Was a special event just for the evening.
It is. Yep.
But you're always there. It's not, it seems like you're at every single one of these events. You're always with your kids. Like how do you feel like you can, just be present in each of those moments? Like, is there any sort of little trick to the trade to be, like present for your workout and then present at your, daughter's sporting events?
I don't, well, first of all, I think I get it from my parents. I mean, they were always at all of my track meets and cross country. They didn't come to practice, but they came to every meet they could possibly come to all through college, and even now they will come to any triathlon that I go I'm in if they can. So I don't know, I think it just comes naturally in that respect, but when it comes to doing workouts, as soon as I step onto the pool deck or onto the track, it's all business. And like I'm not the kind of person that's going to stop and take pictures of it. It's just that I can't, like I just set the boundary there that like this is my time. I have 45 minutes in the day, and there's 23 more hours to do other stuff. But this 45 minute or 60 minutes is going to be only working out, no distractions.
Yeah, I'll throw in just a little teeny story, and then we'll add to training, like training specific topics. But I remember being up in New Paltz with you and Laurel and Matt, and while we were taking what's that? And while we were taking pictures, and all of a sudden, like Matt and myself, and we just like we're going on a nice little stroll in between areas, and you literally like jumped on your bike and then ran off to like would only just ride in between all our setups. So we were like trying to have our leisurely little day, and you were taking that downtime in between taking pictures for setups. Do we lose your audio? Somehow muted. She's gone. Well, hopefully she'll be back in just a second here. In the meantime, I want to go back and just talk about the weeks kind of coming up. I think I talked a little bit. No, we touched on those things. Half marathon, we have 60-minute easy workout start, progression run, going all the way up to threshold pace. It's a great opportunity to go above race pace. Really push yourself to try this one out. Looks like Beck is going to be able to pop right back on here, which is perfect. But to really set yourself up for this workout is a great race prep workout. Can you hear me? All right. We're done and done. So this is a great opportunity, actually, because let's move on to be conscious of time to some training specific kind of questions that came up. So hardest thing I have to imagine in triathlon is just figuring out how to balance the run, bike, swim of it. And then also on top of it all, we're talking about injuries, injury preventions. Are there, are there even more things? Are there strength, yoga, mobility things that you have to try to figure out how to put in one schedule?
It is a lot, but it's definitely something you could work with a coach to try to figure out. And that's the first thing that I like to go over with my athletes is how can this become a lifestyle for you instead of being something that you feel like you just are checking a box to do an Ironman someday. I want you to do like a lifetime of Ironmans if you can. So it's it really depends on the athlete. I personally, I swim a lot because I like swimming and it makes me feel good and it makes me feel strong. Not everybody's like that, but like if you're an athlete who comes from a running background, you're probably going to run a lot more. So the balance may be tilted more towards like somebody that runs 5 days a week and then only swims 2 or something like that. So I think it's like you could say you could do it equally, but really it depends on the athlete and what their preferences are, what their strengths and weaknesses are. Often it's like, oh, let's work your weaknesses. But in triathlon, it really helps to have a strength, like to have that, kind of like that ace up your sleeve that you can use when you're out on the race course. And if it's like you can swim like a really fast 1500, then yeah, use that and don't let it just kind of like sit there because you're working on your other the things you're not good at. So it really depends on that's why I love coaching because it's such a piece, coaching triathlon especially, and runners, but like it's just a puzzle. Like you have to try to figure out, and there's trial and error, and you try something, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, then you try something else.
I will say, as like someone who dabbles, there's always a lot to work on. It's kind of fun actually with my athletes. You're talking about this little knee tweak. The thing that I've found is really fun in triathlon is like you can usually work on something else.
There's always something else. Yeah. And also the other piece of it is I really like to do Pilates because I've always found that like if I do that for about 2 hours, if I can, every 2 hours a week of a mat Pilates class that covers all of the bases. It has like the mobility and some strength and in it, and just enough that it doesn't tax me for the other sports.
Yeah.
And it's that little combination has helped. And now I have to do a little more strength because I'm working on getting over this knee thing. So there are times of the year to work on, and that goes for times of the year as well. Like as a triathlete, you may break up your year into more running and do like a run season and do a half marathon or something like that, and then focus on triathlon or focus on cycling. So there's a lot of different ways to do it.
Yeah. Well, so I know you obviously mentioned a little bit, making some big career pivots with kids and et cetera. What are the changes you feel like you've had to make just throughout your career of, do you train differently? Do you, rest differently, recover differently, all of the above?
Well, when I started training, there weren't any, like the talk of these recovery tools and Normatecs, and that wasn't a thing. So people took naps. I'm just not a person that takes naps, but people were taking naps like between training and which they still do, but that was just like coming from like a corporate world and suddenly like you're taking a nap at 11 a.m. or something. Okay. So there's that. And now I've never done it, but I do have a Normatec now. I have a Theragun. I have all those tools. And yeah, so it's totally different. We just would do 1 massage a week and naps, and that was it. An occasional protein shake. So now it's like protein shakes after every workout. And I think Laurel reminded me that yesterday she posted a video of me running on an altered G treadmill. And that's another recovery tool that people use it to recover from injuries or just to run on an easy day. So I definitely use that now. I've been running in it twice a week to make sure I can still do run workouts while my knee heals.
Those are great. So it's kind of, we were in a coaches meeting recently where we talked about how wanting people to pull back, having a hard time sometimes with people who overdo it. So that's obviously the one side of, in your career early. I remember Jenny Fletcher saying the same thing. It was just like all go all the time.
Yeah.
So now in kind of like a new world, so obviously last year in particular when you were training for this marathon, I'm sorry, the half marathon, the 10K challenge, what are the differences now in like your current training block? Like, are you taking more rest days or different mileage or unload weeks, or are there
Um,
things like, or maybe if, put your coach hat on, like if you were, for all these people who are coming into these tough blocks here, what are the advice you kind of give to try to stay healthy during your training?
I really like to have planned days off. So whether it's once a week, once every 10 days, whatever works for you, but I do once a week because I know it's a day that I can't do. Like I just have no time to work out. So it's convenient, but I really find that has helped. It's just a day where I don't do any training and I feel recovered enough to do 6 days in a row after that. And that's something that's been new starting probably last year.
Okay.
Before it was more like how much can I fill my calendar with racing or with training and racing, and now it's like how little can I do and still be competitive. And so, like I mentioned earlier, it's kind of motivating. Like people should try it. Like don't make yourself do too much. See what you can do with doing not the bare minimum, but like doing a good amount, and you may be surprised. You feel better.
Matt said this thing to me years ago when Team Whooper started. And he said he came to me and he was like, "Good training plan is not like how much work can the athlete do to get the most results. It's how little work can an athlete do to get the most results." And it's something obviously that stuck with me for a while. But we still talk about it, he and I, and us as coaches. It's like the least amount of training to get the most amount of results is the sweet spot.
And
that's what we're all
and you
shooting.
can also, like, if you're resting your body, you can always work your mind.
Sure.
And I've tried to use that. I've used that over the last few years of like giving myself confidence by saying I have the most experience now, and I'm going to be the toughest one out there. That kind of thing, where you could get an edge from that while you're resting your body.
Yeah. So in the endurance sport thing in general, and this kind of ties in the same thing, but is nutrition critical for the whole piece of the pie? I kind of set up as the intro, you and Laurel have athlete food, this kind of healthy, I guess to start is just like this healthy recipe kind of nutrition blog, and then evolved over time.
Yep, it started because like we started in 2012. People were asking Laurel on the subway, like, what do you eat to look like that? I feel like everybody's so athletic now, but then it was kind of, there's plenty of stuff on the internet now, but then it was kind of more unique then. But so we got together with a friend who is a food writer and just said, let's start this thing. And it's definitely evolved to, like, we've done a lot of recipes and strategies for how to fuel on and off the race course.
Okay. Are there any particular like particular ideologies that you prescribe to?
Yeah, I mean, we're just like flavorful, like real food for athletes is pretty much the basis. People used to think that athletes just ate like super bland stuff all the time and boring, but we try to. I try to now also feed my family of young athletes with colorful, flavorful food that will nourish.
Any
provide
tricks
extra
of getting colorful, flavorful, nutritious food in front of the kids?
Yes, and I think today at the doctor, I was listing all of my food that they eat. She was kind of like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, I do eat these things because I'm trying really hard, but not every day." We do have, I just want to admit, we do a vending machine diet every now and then because it just happens.
Sure. I believe it. So, something. I kind of added this, and we'll throw you the teeniest curveball, but it'll be an easy one for you. Someone was asking here, and I think it's very topical for where everybody is in their training right now, coming into back into spring race season, into big training. But since you are by far and away much more of a food expert than I, as well as like experienced athlete, I see it all the time that people like don't quite fuel properly going into their workouts or their races. Not like the weeks leading up, but especially like the 24-hour or like the morning of. Could you offer like a few just tips or pointers on that kind of like, basically pre-workout fuel, like the little bit of thing to like get ready to actually go into it? And I said, people's long runs right now are going to, 90 minutes, 2 hours and beyond. And it's obviously becoming pretty critical to have like a good base going into those long workouts.
Yeah, definitely. It depends on how long the workout is and what time of day it is and what you've eaten before. There's definitely different strategies, but you do want to. The key is to plan. And if you're doing your workout, like the third thing you do, like say in the afternoon, and you've had lunch at noon, but you're doing some kind of treadmill workout at 5, that's a lot of time between. So you're going to need something. So you have to think, well, what snack will I have? What can I pack in my bag, throw in my bag to have a couple calories before I get to this workout so that I can perform my best. And that could be something like some kind of bar or a gel if you want to. I don't really train with gels that much unless it's a specific race specific workout. I'd rather do some real food, but or like a protein and water mixed drink. Something to like get you through that workout. But the key is definitely planning and like having, just the thought to let me throw something in my bag so that getting in that habit of saying I need something, maybe make a peanut butter and honey sandwich or something, and have that before you start. And then as far as long runs go, I like to eat something after dinner the night before, like cereal or ice cream or something like that. Something that's just an extra dessert, whatever it is, later after dinner. And then if I know I'm going to wake up early and not really have time to eat enough, then because you're not going to want to get up at 4 a.m. for a training run. I don't know. I don't think so. For a race, yes, but for a training run, you may not have time to eat a full meal. So I like to have that extra kind of food in the tank the morning of.
All right.
But definitely, yes.
That's funny. I've actually
the comment. Ice cream for the win.
The only thing I've ever heard anything close to that is like Rebbeccah Flesky talking about like going to sleep with like a sandwich next to his bed, like pre-marathons.
That's so funny. Yeah, I mean, I've heard like a couple Ironman champions like will vouch for the ice cream.
Okay.
Pints. Like I don't usually eat the whole pint, but they do. So.
Yeah. So speaking of which, so the kind of second tier to this, I know you mentioned not a lot of gels, which is all fine. So obviously the Ironman, which very long event, it's going to compare. I always say it's like for better or worse. Like once you get past 90 minutes, so if you're running a half marathon in under 90 minutes, you can all pretty much show up in like a little bit of water and you're good to go. But for most people, it's going 90 minutes. It's gone longer than 90 minutes. So the nutritional element of kind of intra-workout nutrition is possibly starting to be introduced. Like, are there things that you do take, during the workout, like intra-workout, that you've had success with?
Yeah, this is where the gels come into play, and I've had success with certain ones. Others, the key there is to test them all before and to test the one that is going to be on the race course, because usually a race will have a gel stop somewhere along the way, and you don't want to grab that when you're desperate and have it not go down. So I like something called Exercell, which is temporarily not being made, but I was sponsored by it for a few years, and it's an amazing product that is a gel-like product, but it's more of like a drink. But without that, I like the goos because there's so many different flavors of goo, and just find the ones. And the other key is to look at the caffeine content and the sodium content in the gels, because they're not all created equal. There's some that have more sodium in them, and if you should test this, but like if you're a heavy sweater and you know it's going to be really hot, then you want to maximize what is in the food that you're taking in. So you would want to go for one that has like 190 milligrams of sodium instead of one that has 100.
Well, being cognizant of time, because I know you have to get away here in a minute. So I just wanted to finish up with this one kind of final question here, which is, in essence, we've talked about we've talked about a very select few of the many accomplishments that you've had. If there was one or a couple things that now that you could share with the younger Rebeccah Wassner coming into competition, what would one or so of those things be?
Well, I did have this question ahead of time, so I had a second to think about it, and I was looking back and I was pretty proud of myself for how I handled it, because I as I mentioned before, I was working in as an accountant, and I had like a pretty good career path ahead of me. And I just decided I wanted to become a pro triathlete. And I had to convince my parents, my family, everybody that I'm gonna just quit my job and like just go on the road and try to make it. And I also had to convince the triathlon world, and I got rejected a couple of times from USA Triathlon for their like beginner um, triathlon teams, and eventually they let me on. And then within a year, I was on the world championship team. So I'm just pretty happy that now I'm like I did that. I can't believe I even did that, but I was just really motivated, and so yeah, there were a couple of things I didn't do right. Like I had a bad coaching situation a couple of years, like about 10 years ago. That just I regret those years. But otherwise, I feel like I'm kind of proud of what I did.
Well, that's great. Well, Rebecca, thank you so very much. It's been a pleasure for me. I'm speaking on behalf of everyone. That I'm sure everyone is very appreciative and took a ton away from what you had to say today. So I will let you get to your evening. And athletes, I will let you all also get to your evening. Also have a wonderful training week, and we will see you back here next week. Thanks again to Rebecca. We'll see you very soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.